This time I came across someone who turned everything upside down. So I went into the office feeling bad and I came out feeling 5 times worse.
5 times worse. Yes, when did you start to realize and say to yourself that this is actually a really important part of my exploration of life? Right now?
When I first encountered channeling, but head on, I specifically signed up for a channeling course. And she tells me, now that we've started this process, they will come. And I was supposedly calm, but when I stared wide-eyed, I was like, what?
What was the most surprising message from the channeling for you, the one that came through you?
You may say you want to be pregnant, but wanting it and actually experiencing it are 2 different things, right?
Is that what I'm telling you? Yes.
You imagine it, come on, come here. And that really made me angry, and I told myself, just wait, watch how I'm going to wave a paper with a confirmed pregnancy. And then actually that made me even more breathless inside. I told myself, I'll find out that I'm pregnant.
Reality often winks at us, but do we pay attention? There are 7 days left, dear people, until the end of the pre-order for my first book, A Touch of Reality. Thank you for being with me on this journey. And thank you for the unique reactions last week, for all the orders. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's for you, so you can order it. Just like the wolf, the lone one, Kalina Valkova, no, not my cousin, but a mother of 2 wonderful children, comes all the way from Rus to share with us how to activate the life of our dreams, how to practically build this quantum creation, and most importantly, how to be human. In this dynamic world that constantly bombards us with all kinds of offers, addictions, and technologies, welcome to Reality Explorers. I am Stoyan Valkov. It's a pleasure to meet you, and welcome to you as well. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
What made you want to participate and why? Could you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers and say why you decided to join us and share your thoughts? Well, I imagine myself doing it, to speak and share what I'm thinking right now.
It was a big struggle inside me. Usually people think, oh, it's very easy there. You just go out and simply say no. In fact, it took me maybe about 2 or 3 weeks to force myself to have an inner dialogue, a struggle with myself. I literally say something to myself, then answer myself, say something, then answer myself, so that I could get to the point of picking up the phone and actually writing that message. What was happening during that period was that I just felt an intuitive calling. I literally felt as if someone was nudging me to do this thing, and I know who was nudging me. In this case, these are spiritual guides. This is my higher self, my intuition. But it was heard in my head as thought forms. That's how I perceived it. Time, do it, time. While the dialogue that arose from my mind was, oh no, you still haven't done this or that. Oh wait, don't you want to achieve something first? Achieve it and then you'll go and tell your story.
Thank you for mentioning this before we started, because that's the reason why many people still don't want to participate, even though they really want to. I'm not quite ready yet. I need to gain a bit more experience, and then I'll be able to share. This happens very often, believe me, and I'm saying it now, using you as an example so we can tell the others as well. Do you feel the inspiration and that signal? Act without hesitation, whether it's for the show or for anything else.
The truth is, we always have a moment when we think we're not enough. Even the most successful and famous people who have won Grammys and all kinds of awards, they say that they still have moments when they think, what have I really done? What have I accomplished? Am I really good enough? And we have those moments too. And accordingly, when we follow that path of thinking, it's clear where we'll end up. This is where our role comes in. We need to be mindful and choose a different path.
You're not 60 years old with lots of experience and different life events saying, oh, finally, after all this, I've decided to change. How did this happen for you? Was it all at once? Creating these kinds of journals, actually challenges for people to rediscover themselves, to look at life from this perspective. What happened so suddenly? Is it now normal to discuss higher selves and spiritual guides? Is that natural? Also, what exactly is a higher self?
It came to me very naturally. The first turning point was when I was working in the corporate world and I had reached a point where I started having panic attacks because I had to go to work, and I would have panic attacks while I was at work.
Were you there in person or online?
Physically in the office, that was back in 2018. Back then, I didn't have children, I was a student, and I was getting a very good salary for that time.
You didn't have any reason to complain.
I was earning the most money out of everyone in the family at the young age of 20 back then. You have everything. You have vacations, a luxurious office, benefits, all kinds of extras. We lived downtown back then in Varna. It was just pure pleasure. But then it happened that I would come to work and start not knowing what was going on. I started to feel suffocated. My heart was pounding. I was getting anxious, not knowing what was happening. And that was a really pivotal moment because I didn't know how to help myself. I had no idea. My husband at the time, who was still my partner, told me, Emmy, if that's how it is, go ahead, try something else. And I wouldn't allow myself to do that. Oh, how could I something else? But I have everything. No, I'll manage. There came a moment when I realized I wouldn't manage, and I sought psychological help. As a teenager, I had used the services of a psychologist thanks to my mother. And then it was as if I allowed myself, having already been to a psychologist once, to go again. And then I realized that if I don't remove it, the reason for this condition, no matter how much I try to suppress it, the reason, which is actually work, no matter how much I try to suppress it, I will end up back there again. But why? Was that the reason? Because I have always wanted something specific, and that was to express myself, to show who I am, to have freedom, above all, freedom. For me, freedom is simply the highest value and my number one priority in everything. And I didn't have freedom there. I didn't even have the freedom to go to the bathroom because it had to happen at specific minutes and hours.
I remember, and here I'll tell you a very funny story. When we lived in Sofia, I had a tennis partner who, just like you, worked in the corporate world, only he did it online. He constantly had to be on his laptop, answering emails and staying online. I can't forget the time when I told him, man, you're at work. I mean, that's obvious. Let's play on the weekend. No, on Wednesday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Oh, okay, fine. And I'll never forget how we went to the court. He parked, put on his jacket and carried his laptop open, left it on the bench and said, hey, I'm online. Yeah, I'm online. When I saw that thing now, when I think about it, I tell myself, this is definitely not freedom. This is the illusion that you're free. And actually, you give in to the addiction. And even in those moments, you tell yourself, I'm in control. But you're really just hurting yourself. Is that true? Yes.
Absolutely, because I believe that deep down, everyone knows what they want. Absolutely, everyone knows what they want. But they don't allow themselves to believe that it's possible given their current situation.
Why don't they allow themselves to believe?
Because they see the circumstances as they are. Let's imagine them as a little fence around us, and they say, this is it. This is my creation. That's all.
That's what I've been given. That's what I have.
But actually, we need to tear down the fence, kick it down and go through, and then we'll see how beautiful and big the meadow is beyond it. But first, we have to allow ourselves to do it here, to even say okay to ourselves. Right now, I might not see how it could happen, but if I keep moving toward it, there's no way I won't see how it will happen.
Can you continue what you started to tell us how it happened for you? Did all these concepts suddenly appear, for example, the idea that there are invisible worlds and that we communicate with them? Or did you gradually go through psychology, then through, let's say, entrepreneurship or similar, I don't know, successful books? And then did something deeper happen? Or for you, was it all direct from the start?
Well, let's go back to when I quit. Yes, I quit. Yes, I fought with myself. I fought and told myself, that's it, I'm leaving. I had time. I needed a few months to be without a job, without anything specific to do, so I could look inward to understand what I want right now, where I want to go, what I want to do. I didn't find myself.
Remember, you might want to say what you wanted to say back then, at that moment. That's very interesting to me. Okay, you allowed yourself to give yourself time, but do you expect exactly how it will happen, what you will do? Do you want to focus on something specific to say? Now, for example, I'll do these practices and this, or I'll listen to this person and from there what I want will be born. Or you just say, I don't know what I want to do, but if it comes, it comes. However, I won't stay where I am right now.
I would say it's a mix between the two. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I remembered my strong desire for freedom. Then, something that's completely different from what I'm doing right now. I said to myself, okay, how can I make this desire for freedom come true? To really be free, to really be able to travel, for example, and not be limited by having to go somewhere to work. And then I started studying programming with the idea of making websites, something that could give me the freedom to work from wherever I want and to work whenever I want. And, we got somewhere with that idea. It took me to some places and then we finished. Which, by the way, is really cool because usually people say, oh, I started doing something and I got somewhere, but it didn't work out. So it's like how inconsistent I am, how I start different things and never really finish them. I'm a really good example of how you can start so many things and just leave them halfway. Ever since I was a child, I've been to all kinds of clubs, from dancing and singing to drawing and everything. And actually, all of that isn't just wandering around, it's moving forward on my path. That's 1,000 times better than just staying in one place. It's better to take 1,001 steps in different directions, but they will always be forward, rather than just standing still and watching. All the other paths I could take, should I go, should I not go? And so I believe you that every experience, every little path we've chosen is not by accident. To follow what inspired us in a particular moment has its own meaning and timing.
And actually, this helped you to rediscover yourself after programming. What happened next?
After programming, it was another interesting period. That's when I got pregnant with my first child. And after I gave birth to my first child, my beloved Panika Taki came back into my life again.
Why?
To show me that I'm not on the right path of thinking, in the way I program myself, in the way I live.
So you believed that even after you had your first child, something still wasn't right?
Yes.
Why? What was it?
Back then, we were facing a very interesting life situation with our family. We had a place where we lived in my husband's city, but the apartment was in his name and we had to leave it. At that time, we literally had nowhere to go because we had just started our physical business and had invested all our money there. I was on maternity leave, which at that time was very, very low. And where could we go? Where? Not even for an apartment, not for anything. The best option we could come up with then was for my husband to stay because that's how we had started our store physically there, and at that time only he was working there. I, with the child, who was 1 year old, had to go to my relatives who lived 300 kilometers away. And that turned out to be a very, very good thing, looking back now, but at the time I was going through a lot of drama. Back then, every morning and evening I would wake up crying and fall asleep crying, thinking about how hard it was, how difficult, and how there was no way out.
What got you through it back then?
Panic like that?
When was the moment you said, hey, Kalina, listen up, stop for a second?
Yes, panic, just like that. That's why I say, for me, this is the loudest thing that can happen to a person. To have panic like that, because panic like that doesn't make you sick. For example, to say that you get some diagnosis, to hear from a doctor now, or to go for an x-ray, or to go, what should I do? Or not being able to get out of bed, just lying there. Sometimes it's hard for you to breathe, you get anxiety. You see your whole world. Superhumane. And if you have panic attacks today, but tomorrow you might not have panic attacks, then you don't need it. It's a period of the body adjusting, just like there would be a period of cleansing if you were getting rid of a virus, bacteria, or some kind of illness.
It's just a mental attitude.
You change it, and back then I didn't know how to change it, so I looked for a psychologist again. This time, I found someone who turned my world upside down. So I went into the office feeling bad, and I left feeling 5 times worse.
5 times worse, yes.
I left feeling really bad. I was really shaken. And somehow I went there thinking that they would help me. At least I would discover something, I would start doing some things that would help me. No, in 20 minutes, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. Without really having anything in that direction. I was accused of still breastfeeding my child, who was about 1 year and 3 or 4 months old at the time, and I felt more attacked, belittled, as if I had opened up my soul. And someone came in, took everything, and broke it. And when I left the office, I cried. My head hurt. I remember very clearly how I was driving the car home, and I didn't know how I would make it. I just didn't know, even to this day. When I pass by that street, I say to myself, God, I remember how I was driving back then. I just kept telling myself, if I can just get home, everything will be okay. If I can just get home, everything will be okay. When I got home, it was clear that it had shaken me so deeply. My conversation back then with my partner, the psychologist, was about how I was vomiting. I couldn't stand up. The world was spinning all night. I didn't know where I was. The next morning, when I went into the bathroom and took a shower, then it was as if something happened, as if something unlocked inside me, like a great determination. And I told myself, now it's clear that if I ever thought someone could help me, I was simply fooling myself. The only one who can help me is only I can help myself.
Do you think that at that moment in the shower, this realization came from your higher self, and you just finally heard it?
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me about all these interests of yours, how you got to what you've created and the life you're living now. When you were little, were you interested in these things like what the soul means, human consciousness, aliens?
I was interested. I was really fascinated by reincarnation. I found a book at home that my mom had read once about reincarnation, but now I can't quite remember it. What was the book? And how different children at the age of 4, 5, or 6 talk about having some memories from previous lives. And I was really young when I read it, maybe before 5th grade. And that's when I formed the concept of reincarnation in my mind, in a way that I understood it back then. You die, then you choose to be born again, and you are born again. Now I see this concept differently, but I definitely had a much different perspective then. From the standard one. You just die and that's it.
You carried this with you while you were in school, while you were a student and a teenager? Or was it from that moment on that you started to bring it out, to say to yourself, this is really a very important part of my exploration of life right now?
When I first encountered channeling, but head on, you know what I mean? I specifically signed up for a channeling course because I felt that something was coming in there. I was channeling, but wait.
That I'm pretending I'm hearing it for the first time. I want us to repeat it again. In Bulgaria, was it in Bulgarian? What did you sign up for?
Yes.
Not for an English course?
Yes.
In Bulgaria you are. When is that?
2023.
2023, Kalina has enrolled in a channeling course. I'm saying this for people, for those of us who still think that this thing is just now coming to Bulgaria. And that's why I'm really glad you're sharing it and what happened there. Why did you decide to sign up for something like that?
Well, right before I signed up, I've always had these really interesting dreams from which I would get my own information. Sometimes I wanted to learn things in my dreams, like how to do something or how events would unfold, and I would get that information. At one point, in 2021, 2022, I started dreaming about people who had passed away. I'm not afraid of them, and I wasn't afraid of them back then either. In fact, I welcomed them very warmly.
Deceased acquaintances.
Deceased acquaintances and strangers. There were even people whose identities I never figured out. Acquaintances whom I dreamed about, who gave me some messages or different situations in which they explained something to me. And accordingly, if these were people who were close to my acquaintances, I would contact them and tell them directly what it was about, what information I had received, to let them do whatever they want with it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Until a certain point, when I was already interested in these topics, I watched videos about them, and I also watched Dari, Lanka, and Adelina. And I told myself, this is what I want to do, but consciously.
What did you want to do? You want to be the person who feels that they sense specific information and then channels it and shares it. What exactly about channeling is it for you?
Not really. I am the person because I am the person who is Egutuse. It's natural that it exists, everyone has it. But rather, I wanted to feel it, to experience it, for me to sense it, not just to watch, to observe, not just to read. Because, by the way, even in Liz Bourbeau's books, in my opinion, there is a lot of channeling. She passes it through her philosophy, through her psychology, through her research that she has done. In my opinion, she does a lot of channeling. She has a lot of knowledge that can't be explained or stated simply based on science and the things we have here as knowledge. And I just said, I don't just want to watch it and say, wow, that's really cool. I want to experience it myself, to truly touch it. And then when I signed up for the training, it was a big step for me, and I will never forget the first night. Now, we already had our first meeting with Adi, and she told me, now, we've started this process and they will come. And I listened, as calm as I was when I realized it. I said, what? But really, I had to take a moment to breathe, to catch my breath. What should I do when they come? Well, what should you do? Just act normal, do what you usually do. That's my instruction, right? How to stay calm. We had already talked about the fact that I can't attract anything scary or any bad energy if I am on the vibration of love, if I am on the vibration of unity. I already knew how, to manage my inner world, a bit of inner dialogue, a bit of regulating my emotional states so that I could stabilize myself. And still in the evening when the kids fell asleep.
Were you waiting for this? Yes.
I was waiting. You didn't start. I was waiting for it. And I sat down in the middle of the room on the floor, in a kind of solemn pose. And now we're going to do channeling. And I close my eyes and I feel how fear just grabs me. I open them wide, I hear some noises, I look out the window and I think that some UFOs are coming. That's how much I wanted it. The fear twists my mind, the information, I try to control it, but I can't. I'm scared. Here it comes again, strong, for half an hour or more, struggling to close my eyes and calm this rising fear. Until the moment I told myself, look, in my reality, nothing can happen unless I allow it. What could really happen? They could come, take me, abduct me. What would they do to me? They'd be told to bring me back. They'd see me and bring me back. Look, I made a plan of action for myself. That's exactly what stopped it, yes. So I could give my mind some peace. And in the end, I closed my eyes.
I tamed the dragon?
Yes, and then for the first time I felt my higher self, because I didn't want to call it. I felt it physically next to me. And to this day, it's already like an automatic thing for me. I mean, I've gotten so used to feeling it so quickly that I can just close my eyes for a second and say that I want to feel my higher self around me. Or first I wanted to hug me. You know, it's not going to hug me like a person, but to embrace me. That energy, and it literally feels like a touch.
When this starts happening to you, or when you start to truly explain to yourself what these things mean and how different it is from your previous idea before you experienced it,
It was generally different. Because this energy, this love that you can feel when you are in the channel, when you are connected, as they say, it has no explanation. There are no words to explain it. And even once during a channeling, it was one of my first, still guided channelings. And when, shouldn't I be the one guiding them? Well, to be guided so that I can, understand how things happen. I cried a lot then. I was like, why am I crying? But my tears just kept flowing. Then it was channeling, connecting with my deceased grandfathers and two very beloved animals that had passed away. And I just cried. I could feel them next to me. I felt them. I saw all the textures, everything. It was just magic, and I cried. Why am I crying? Because this love is not what I received as an answer right away. It comes in the form of knowledge, in the form of just an instant response. Because this love can't fit into my physical body, it just can't be experienced by it. It has to come out in some form.
that's how it is. It's wonderful. It's really hard to describe it, but sometimes we get it right. All people, really.
Well, it's kind of like looking at a postcard of New York and saying, oh, it looks so nice there, and then actually going to New York, and then all the buildings around you, the cars, and you say, I'm here now, I'm really here. It's a real experience.
What was the most surprising message for you from channeling, the one that came through you? Now,
Here, the first thing that comes to my mind, which probably makes sense to tell you, although it's not very surprising, but when I did channeling with my deceased grandfather, yes, on my mother's side, I actually found out that in another parallel life, he was my father.
okay.
And it's not something, wow, like some super shocking information, but it gave me a very different level of understanding about how things happen. In the family, in the household, because we choose to be part of this connection of a family stimulus, yes, to reincarnate with the same souls in different lives. Then I explored a lot about what he had to learn during this life while he was here on earth. And what did he tell you? He said trust. Yes, to trust. And actually his last maybe about 15 years were really connected to that. To trust others, to let them take care of him, to care for him, because he couldn't take care of himself. He was dependent on others. And actually he told me that he still has to learn this thing. And she continues, another interesting piece of information, which I can't tell you right now, but whether it came to me during the channeling or I accessed it somewhere else, I really don't know, is that if before it took us, it doesn't matter. Everything is somewhere out there in space. When they ask me for a source, where is this from? Where is that from? I have no idea. Sometimes, yes, actually, if before one person, one incarnation there, one human life could have been experienced. And to take one, at most 2 life lessons. For example, to learn to trust or to accept or unconditional love, something there, to have an experience, to gain experience in that, to relax. But now, at this moment, with all the access to information we have, all the technologies, all the possibilities for connecting with each other, we in a single human incarnation can master up to 60 such life lessons.
Okay.
Which is a lot, and actually shows and explains why, in the past, sages were seen as people who are old, who have lived a lot, who have seen many things. Now, there are more and more young people like you and like me and like them. Yes, who, Maritza?
Don't point at us like that.
Who may have enough life experiences to learn lessons from them. Because I can't say whether, my mother by the age of 30, she also had as many life experiences as I have had. But she didn't analyze them. She didn't look at them. She didn't take from them the things that I take.
In other words, it doesn't matter how many experiences you have. What matters is how you examine what you've been through.
What you do with them and for how long. You keep assuming that what happens to you is just happening to you. Can't it stop? Is someone doing something to me? Or can I... This is in my reality. Why is that so?
You said before that you had a different understanding, but go on, please. The story after the channeling, what happened? You unlocked it. It started to, become something natural. And then what else was unlocked in you?
Then different energy practices started coming to me naturally, for example, breathing techniques. So basically, I can't say that I've read a single book about this, for example, about what energy practices are, how to breathe, or how to do meditation, or anything else that's considered classic. They just started coming to me. Of course, breathing is like that, not even as a classic technique or command, but as an inner feeling. Now I'll breathe like this. Now I'll do this. Now I'll exhale 5 times. Now I'll tell myself something or other. And I started applying them to myself. I started writing down different things. By then I was already working with clients, meaning I had already gone through that stage. Coaching, training, and other things that are more related to the practical side of things. And channeling was that addition to the energetic side, which I really missed.
To go deeper, so you don't just stay on the psychological level. Yes?
And what actually happened then was that a whole new world literally opened up to me. Until then, I was the kind of person who, now when this person comes with a certain issue, I have to start from scratch. We have to use a certain technique. We have to do a certain analysis, purely logical. At one point, I stopped thinking, stopped asking myself what, how, why. I stopped having the question in my head. But what if he comes so-and-so and asks me about something I haven't worked on or don't know about yet? What will I do? I just stopped asking myself. It's obvious, right? Even before that, I saw this was about ego. Yeah, I kept telling myself, you can do it. You have enough knowledge and skills. You'll find a way. You'll always figure out what to do with it. The person won't run away in an hour. But at some point, it started to become too superficial, and I began to go much deeper. And I realized that any anxiety I had about what kind of case someone would bring to me disappeared. And it became less about what knowledge and skills I have, and more about what would come into the field for this person. And that was all that mattered. Not what technique we would use, not what method we would work with, just because I have studied a certain set of methods.
Yes.
But what exactly does the person need?
Actually, what you're describing is the way it happens. Every single broadcast of the research program. In reality, it always happens this way. A space is created, a field, which I'm sure you can feel right now. And it happens according to the needs of the audience at the specific stage and moment. And of the person who, whenever these conversations happen, somehow always shares something very different and discovers himself. And what you're saying here is very valuable because it's exactly because the information is accessible. But in my opinion, the times of this type of people who now, for example, would stand next to me. And I will say I am entirely a supporter, which is entirely his right. For example, of the methods of Carl Jung or Freud, and that's how he did it, that's how I act. I don't want to look beyond that barrier you mentioned at all. That's enough for me. That works for me. While the person who comes to you, that might not be his language at all. His intellect at the moment might not grasp these complex words. He might not want to or might not feel, for example, deep psychology as something so familiar to him. There are people to whom these things sound really strange, shadows or other terms. And at some point, if you don't have another way, just to reach out and say, hey, what's up? The person ends up disappointed and accordingly forms some kind of, let's say, opinion. That's what I think, and I want to use this moment. Since you're standing here, it's really nice that this is happening. What would you say to all, let's call them all your colleagues who do something similar, work with clients, have released a physical product, work with ads? I always remind myself of that, Choco. You are working with people's destinies. You might forget, but it's important to remember it's a responsibility. What would you say to all the people who have only stopped at the psychology layer or have read 2 books and suddenly become half experts, immediately wanting to take the financial part of everything? Being yourself is strange, but now it's in use. That's exactly why we created our membership, to create a space where more and more people who in some way feel strange and out of place, until this becomes natural, to gather more, to share our knowledge and experience in a common space on our website INRA, VG in our membership section, with books, with audio meditations, with guided meditations, with webinars, online meetings with all of you every month on different topics, and above all, with great passion and enthusiasm to continue exploring reality and its endless layers. Welcome to our membership.
Honestly, I wouldn't say anything to them because we don't have a space where we can really connect, really.
I accept any kind of pride.
That I don't think they would care about what to do or what to improve. They've taken a course or something, read a couple of books, and they just want to focus on the financial side of things. This will be someone who will be interested in how to make the money work, not how to improve themselves or their future. And to those who actually want to improve something in their work, I would simply tell them to focus on improving themselves, because they are their own best business card. And for example, everything I do with myself, I treat it as a project, a creative one, as a professional project. When I have a problem, and my biggest problems personally have been, in the 2 biggest areas, relationships and work, when I have such a problem. When I realize I've hit rock bottom, I tell myself, Kalina, you're not solving this problem for your life. You're solving this problem for yourself. And for all the other people to whom you'll later give the solution, you'll show them the shortcut. You'll help them so they can do it themselves. And when I imagine that it's me, just a tiny speck of dust, my ego, which is saying right now, oh, this is so big, this is such a huge issue, how are you going to solve it? And I say to myself, oh me, imagine 20 women, 30 women, 50 women for whom this would actually help. To improve their lives, to improve their relationships at home, to feel better at home, to do something for their children. And what kind of impact would that have on the children? And for the children who will later go and talk to other children, or mostly they will have their own children. And when you realize this whole chain, that there's no way you can't get up. There's no way you can't stand up and say, let's get started like this.
That's right. I'm saying it because I stayed up until 3:30 at night to make a video that I know will leave a different impression in people's minds. And it's necessary, and I know that I can do it. This is the strength we have, which goes beyond physical senses. And sometimes we don't even need to look for an explanation. It's more about sharing the knowledge.
Yes, and to share what comes from our own experience, from our own journey. Because the knowledge that's in books, in textbooks, in lectures, that's something that comes as some kind of object, meaning a fact, a sentence that I will read. In one way, I can feel it within myself with a certain intonation, to pass it through my personal experiences, to feel it in another way. And someone else might understand the same sentence in a completely different way. And when I don't just go out and say the sentence exactly as I read it, but say it through my own perspective, it gives people so much more. Because I will connect with those who have had similar thoughts, similar feelings, similar experiences as me. And that's exactly the meaning of true connection. We also point out
Knowledge and facts. Absolutely, thank you for saying that. This is really important. I want to ask you about your perspective, how you see the bigger things in the universe. Like, what do you imagine in the universe? How do you see it? How do you feel it?
as a space that isn't empty, but a space where there is a lot of space.
Absolutely fine.
I imagine it, and at least I feel it, as an energy that is very loving. And usually when I start to connect with energy, usually the colors I see, which is very interesting because the types of colors are the same. Are they exactly the colors between the 5th and about the 7th chakra, which are blue, purple, indigo? And that's my feeling usually when I start to call on deceased people or connect with spiritual guides. Sometimes white colors come as well, but usually those are my sensations.
And what does it mean for me? I mean, my colors. When I thought about that type of background,
I say type.
behind type,
It's not by accident, it's exactly these colors.
it's absolutely not by accident. Yes, what were you about to say earlier? I interrupted you. That before you understood reincarnation in a certain way, but now from your current point of view, how do you see it now?
Before I imagined reincarnation exactly as the mind would picture it linearly. You die, you choose to be born, you are born, you die, you choose to be born again, right? So like this, just jumping from one to another. What I understand now is that there isn't really such a thing as my soul choosing to be born and to be here, and it's only there. My soul is a big thing, the big balloon. My incarnation now, meaning my life now, is a small balloon inside the big balloon. And usually we are used to imagining that the soul comes into the body, right? Yes, he is a person and he carries a soul, but actually the body carries, or rather the soul carries the body.
You don't have a soul, you are a soul.
Yes.
Yes.
And right now, that's how I see things. A big balloon that can have different small balloons inside it. But for example, this blue balloon here is not that white balloon over there. And yes, this could be the one big soul, but it doesn't choose the same experiences unless there's a reason for them, meaning unless there's something to gain from them. And if now I choose to live this way, in a parallel version of myself, not before, not after, but at the same time, something else is happening. So another way in which my soul experiences itself as an individual.
As a person, as a personality.
Yes, and that was a key realization for me, because this concept, the linear one, brings with it quite a few limitations, like certain lessons. If you didn't learn this lesson in this life, you'll struggle in the next one, and so on, which is kind of like...
Absolutely. I'll take this moment to add something because this is related to time. We experience time linearly, but we don't realize the connections we can make. The connection between what you just said and what Einstein discovered is that time flows differently for everyone. Literally, while I'm in a car and watching people walking outside, we have different speeds. This is classical physics. Nothing strange, surprising, or incredible. From this point of view, however, at some point time is limited. That is, my distance from A to B. The brain tries to explain it by saying I go from here to there, but at the same time, while I'm walking, many other things have already happened. From a quantum point of view, I recreate every moment, right now, there's nothing behind the door, but once I think about it, my beliefs, filters, the world, the color, the handle, it all comes to mind. We do it so quickly that at one point I open it and the room is on the other side. I think that when we make more and more connections, even without going too deep, at some point we automatically broaden our horizons, and we can allow for it. This concept that you explained, both with time and with the soul, the very existence itself, with the energy, that it's really like that movie, what was it called? Everything happening at once. How was it? Everything everywhere all at once, at the same time. It's strange for the brain. Really, I've been familiar with this concept for more than 6 years now. And I won't lie to you, every time it comes to my mind, that struggle rises up again. How is that possible?
I absolutely agree with you. In the same way, I go through a different explanation every time, depending on the situation I'm in. Again, I have to explain it to myself in a different way so I can process it in my mind. And now, while you were talking, I think it's very valuable to mention that just as the mind creates the room over there, the mind also creates the person next to us. All right? It doesn't matter if it's a partner, mother, or father.
Can you explain that? What do you mean?
When I have the concept in my head, like he's like this, or he does this, or he talks like that, or oh, that thing, I'll never do it. What am I doing? I'm projecting it, meaning I say, that's it, that's how it will be. I name it and I see it, and that's what I see. And this is actually a very big discovery in my life in recent years, because my partner and I were in this situation where we were physically separated. Yes, there were a lot of upheavals, and it even got to the point where we were thinking about divorce. Yes, at that time we already had 2 children. The little one was just a few months old. And we were seriously considering that option until the moment when I hit rock bottom and decided that I wouldn't give up. No, I would do everything in my power to save the relationship and to wait. Look now, I'm doing everything I can. You do something too. I decided that I would take things into my own hands because this is my reality.
Kalina, what would you say to people who will say, okay, I want him to be like that, but he isn't, and he doesn't choose that? What's the difference between this is my reality and, well, he's not like that? How do we explain it?
He's not like that. That's something created here. And just as it was created, he's not like that. It can also be created so that he is like that. It's a matter of reprogramming.
It's really simple.
And when you get it, wait a minute. That I can reprogram myself, that he is a terrible man, he does nothing. I can even call him a list. That I can reprogram myself in this. I can use the same energy to reprogram myself in the other thing. And then I will have a completely different result. That is, I will choose that he is a good man, that he does things this way, that he does things differently. And then actual evidence for this will start to appear. And then, actually, I can say that this is one of my greatest conscious achievements. Something that I have done consciously, because I have made many things happen, and good ones too. Unconsciously turning the relationship from a state of divorce to a state where we live together again with our 2 children and being satisfied with the arrangements. Something clear, not just living together as roommates. Of course, there is still room for us to grow, but this change wouldn't have happened in my reality if I had continued with the story. He's like that. He wouldn't do something like that. It was just that this whole thing, it wasn't about fixing the relationship. It wasn't about talking about how to improve ourselves. It wasn't a matter of communication. It was a matter of right here inside, a struggle with yourself on the inside. Then, when you hear something you don't want to hear and everything inside you gets triggered, everything explodes, you burst out, you explode. And over time, I've had so many times when my inner self has had such a breakdown, a cataclysm, just so I could learn to control it. The moment, if I hadn't fallen 1,000 times, now, when I hear something I don't want to hear, or I want to hear something completely different, in a completely different direction, I would be able to give a different meaning to what I hear. So, for example, if I hear from my partner right now, that's not going to happen. It can't just happen instantly. In my head, the mechanism is already built. Why did he tell me that this can't happen? Just to see how you do it very soon? And now it's like some kind of ritual for me. If he tells me it can't happen, that means it has to happen. The other thing is when you hear something you don't like and everything inside you gets triggered, to be able to say stop, to close your eyes, to mentally experience what you want to hear, to really experience it, to feel it with your whole self, with your emotional state, with your thoughts, to regulate your neural system. To feel it. There's no way you can stay in the same reality. If what you hear doesn't affect you, you experience something else in your mind and you keep acting as if you have experienced the other thing.
Yes, that's what the masters do. Kalina, I can't help but ask you. Actually, I can do whatever I want in my own show. But for the older part of our audience, I'll ask you a question that I think is very interesting to them. You have 2 wonderful children. Here's an example for everyone, someone from the younger generation. What is your attitude right now towards your children? How much do you allow technology to influence them? To what extent? So, in plain language, have you let them into the matrix?
I try as much as possible to keep them away and to reprogram them to think differently, not like the Matrix. So, starting from the fact that children, even when they're little, just starting to walk, it starts from everywhere. Question: are you listening? It's as if the only job of the child is just to listen and do what they're told.
Who listens more if there are more children?
If you love more? Yes, right. Starting from these things and also going through the physical part, right? I mean, feeding as best as possible. Ever since they were born, I've tried to make sure they eat good things, but that's just something, that's our way of life. Also, I mean, I can't implement something that I don't already have within myself or that I'm not working on. I can't give them good food if I don't eat well myself.
Actually, you're saying something that a lot of people are under the illusion about, that when they have kids, their life will become different. That is, they think they will change in this specific way and completely change all their habits. And suddenly this will fix everything for them. Just like if I move somewhere else, suddenly everything will be fine and I'll automatically become a new person. You can get on the road, but you always carry yourself with you, all your habits, filters, and accordingly, I guess the children copy you.
Children are like an amplifier of what's in adults. No matter if it's good, so to speak, or bad, they just amplify it. If we are reasonable enough, because after all we are adults, we have a critical, analytical mind to see why, how, and in what way this child is acting now. What the child does to me gives me some kind of information. Does it irritate me? And if so, what kind of information is that? For me, this brings something good, but how do I do this in my own life? Or how do I want to do it, but don't allow myself to?
Where do I feel tense? Am I the one asking myself this? Or what is making me tense?
To be honest with you, for me, these 2 questions are connected. That is, it doesn't matter whether I feel tense about this or something else. Something pushes my button and I become reactive to it, meaning I might get tense. That is, I might consciously feel that I'm getting tense, or it could be unconscious, meaning I don't know why I'm getting irritated, but this thing just makes me lose my composure, and it doesn't matter whether it's conscious or unconscious. As long as I react, if I have some kind of reaction, that means, in other words, there is some information about me because I can't react to something that I don't have inside myself. Very often I have clients who say, for example, my mom or my husband, and they, do they understand? They can't make me feel guilty. They can't do that. But why do they talk to me like that? Why don't they understand how? How am I supposed to feel about this? No one can make you feel something or make you feel a certain way if you don't already have it inside you. But I don't usually feel guilty about this, it's just that they make me feel guilty. If you don't have that inner guilt, if that feeling isn't already there inside you, it wouldn't matter to you what anyone says. Even if someone tells you, hey, you're guilty of this, you just look at them and say, seriously? I don't think so.
Yeah, really, that's just nonsense. You said it very well.
What I'm trying to get back to with the questions is really to make my children as thoughtful, independent, and resourceful as possible. For me personally, as a parent, it's important that they can manage in life, but not just at a survival level. That is, just going somewhere, working, earning money for food, and being able to pay their bills. Capable in the sense that they truly create their own life, truly build it, and truly understand that it's for them. And for example, my older son and the little one is 3.5, the older one is 6. Yes, I've taught them how to do magic tricks. When something needs to happen, we start with the smallest things to begin with. Naturally, I can't teach them something that I don't do myself. Yes, and now when we go, for example, downtown to park there, every time we have to drive around a lot to find a parking spot. Yes, and now here we close our eyes and imagine how we go there and our parking spot is waiting for us. It's waiting for us right in front of the store and it's empty. And we celebrate and the European Union, here it is, and we experience it and everyone is holding hands and the European Union. Did you see it? We saw it well. And the first times, it was longer, more descriptive. Now, at this moment, I tell my brother, let's do magic for a parking spot. Done. That's it with the emotions.
You're already using it to keep us busy today, on the other hand.
About everything. And the interesting thing was because we started talking about how people around us change. The interesting thing was that at first their father was sleeping, watching, and kind of observing from the sidelines. If I hadn't then told myself, here, your father, right? He didn't really understand these things either, so we wouldn't talk about them in front of him. You would have known things very differently, but I let things happen in front of him. Now. Right now, Demi, cast a spell so I can win the match.
Ha ha.
Ha ha ha. But that's the thing, right? The most important thing is that I'm teaching them. Something that definitely gives them a much better starting point than the one I had. First, because they have far fewer limitations than I do. And second, because they start much earlier.
Yes, can you imagine?
They start much earlier, yes.
I think that sometimes we really can't handle this information. Actually, what is it like to start so early in this way? Because we've had these collective notifications and reminders, for example, the Harry Potter series. When I watched the first part, The Philosopher's Stone, I was very young and I remember. Back then, we watched on tapes and there were video rental stores and you would go to get it and return it and so on. And I would take that movie and watch it again and again and again, and now I see it in a different way. Actually, those were the reminders. You're a wizard, the wand is in your back pocket. But at the same time, there are other movies too. The library is full. And again, the focus. So that's very beautiful, and actually that's evolution. That's the point, yes. Very, 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 very beautiful. Actually, you said that you were told you couldn't have children, right?
That's right. I can't have them ever. At that time, for over 6 months, I hadn't had a period.
How old?
20, something like that. I had followed a diet plan, but overall, even in my teenage years, I had problems in that area. Cysts, missed periods, and at one point, I hadn't had my period for over 6 months. I know this is due to the diet plan, so I've begun eating a bit, differently and more gently, gradually. And I tell myself, well, I'm about to graduate soon, right? I'm already a student. That's when I feel like we'll get married. In a few months, it's already time for kids, and I decide that we're going to have children. He's easy, the man is easy. I don't have any problems in that regard. When I decide that something is going to happen, sooner or later it happens. And by the way, that's how it is in every family. What the woman decides, that's what happens, no matter how much men don't want to admit it. Ha, 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 ha. But, whether it's for one reason or another, just so I don't get in trouble. Or because they've realized that's how it is, but it happens. Then I go to the doctor to find out what's going to happen, if I'll get my period, if any process will start. And actually, during the exam, the doctor sees that there are many cysts and says to me, "Sweetie, at least 2 years. You need to take hormones, you need to do certain tests." And she wrote me a list of hormones that I need to get tested. Once you do them, that is, start now with the hormones, the prescriptions. And then, maybe eventually it could come to some tests for men, but for everyone, as I see, mainly for you, that's what I'm saying too. When he hears 2 years, it's like something shocks him, like, how 2 years? Yes, it's true, at 20, but I love... When I decide on something, it's not that it has to happen right away, but I want to see how it...
The process.
Yes, to start happening and how. For 2 years, it was just something that was turned off for me. And yet I can't deny that it really broke me inside. And then when I left the office, the hallway was full, outside. I come out wiping my tears, running down the stairs, and I leave the clinic and stop at the nearest bench around. I sit down and cry. I look at these prescriptions, I look at the outpatient records, and I told myself, no, you won't accept this. It's like it never happened, as if it never happened. Nowhere. I didn't go, I didn't do anything. I just tore everything up and threw it away and told myself I'm forgetting whatever happened. And by the way, I've told this story to people who were going through some kind of process, manifesting something between people who wanted to open up. And actually, I would say almost no one in my family knows. So that's how it is now. I'm revealing it here. They are very valuable, and I believe they will be useful to many people.
So, you refused to believe in that reality and created how it would happen in yours, in what you wished for.
Back then, I did it very unconsciously. I wasn't projecting like, now I'll do this and that will happen. Yes, I just had a lot inside me. I don't want to say resistance, because resistance actually shows a fear that we have. Just denial. I just said, no, it's not here, it's not there, I don't see it, but not like I don't see you, wait, let me see you, are you there? It's just that you're not there. When I got home, how did you treat me? Oh, everything is fine, but you instinctively act like I'm hiding it, not like I'm going to say everything is fine when it's not. It's not. It's just like denying reality, but in a very pure form. Like a child who believes that if they say, today I saw a big flying elephant, it's as if they really saw that big flying elephant. And they can even create the image in their mind that they saw it. Because there is no experienced and unexperienced there. There is only what happens in the mind. And then that's actually what happens. I'll use specific dates for you. On May 9th, I'm going for this checkup, May 9th and May 12th. 2 times, 2 only attempts to get pregnant, and one of them turns out to be successful. And on May 24th, one day before my birthday, I see a faint one. A second line on the pregnancy test, which is generally a very early stage to confirm pregnancy with a doctor. And you tell yourself to wait until the next day. I have a birthday. Back then was still the time when we used to drink. Now here it's wine, maybe champagne or something to celebrate. And I didn't say anything. No, I didn't say anything, but I acted exactly like a pregnant woman. I just touch my lips to it, put the glass down, and don't drink. What happens next? The most interesting part. 2 days later, I go to work, and at work, I start feeling unwell. Well, I started feeling unwell because I'm pregnant. I call my husband. To pick me up because I'm not feeling well. I visit my general practitioner for a sick note, but she only gives me 5 days since she doesn't find anything wrong with me. I began feeling unwell, my blood pressure dropped, and I thought, I have 5 days to prove my pregnancy since I'm not returning to work. Back then, actually, I didn't want to go back to work because my job involved physical labor, lifting heavy things. And it wasn't something I believed was the best back then or now. So after that, I started going to doctors all over Varna, maybe 5, 6, or 7 doctors. Because that first kind was the most shocking, and to my great happiness, it was the most shocking, because it motivated me even more. I read with him and he was like, oh, what pregnancy? What are you talking about? Your period is going to come soon. They say you might want to be pregnant, but what does it mean to want it? And what is it actually?
Is that what I'm telling you?
Can you imagine that too? It made me so angry and I said to myself, just wait, now I'll wave a paper with a confirmed pregnancy. And actually that made me even more motivated inside. Maybe I told myself, no, I will find out that I'm pregnant. I will find out that I'm pregnant and then we'll go. My husband back then, he was working on the go. He was always on the move. A lot of real estate emotions on the go. Even with the car, where is it? Down there, next to that. I'll swing by this clinic, then the other. I had scheduled appointments with different doctors. I'm going out. It's funny, but my hitch wasn't there then, so it's not. I leave the clinic and, I don't schedule too many appointments ahead because wherever they confirm something, I end the investigation. Well, for example, I leave, they haven't confirmed it for me, so I call the next place to make an appointment there in a few hours. I have 5 days, I'm free, I don't go to work. Someone will confirm my pregnancy. And I remember at the second to last place, we were sitting at a cafe and soon I was about to go in for an exam. He asked me if I was okay. Could it be a pregnancy right now? Could you tell me this thing?
Don't worry.
Maybe next month, right? We'll see. Don't worry. Why are you so stressed out? And I didn't just brush him off. I said no. Just stand there and watch. I went to that second to last place. And there too, there's nothing. We can't see anything. It's too early. Maybe in 2 weeks, maybe this, maybe that. And by then I had already told him, look, there's this one last place, 6:30 in the evening, it was already the last place, and I'll pass by there on my way home. I've seen them there. If they take me, they take me, and if not, tomorrow we'll keep going. And I said, go home, wait for me at home, and I'm going.
So you're going alone?
Alone. But it was nearby, I'm already writing, and then I said, I'm writing, I'll go home, I'll take a walk. And at the last place, I go in and I say directly, I'm here to confirm a pregnancy.
I just told the person straight up.
I said, yes, I have positive tests. I want you to see me, to confirm it for me. I really had positive tests, but they were very faint. Man. And my husband was like, oh, you're just imagining it. But I said, no, I see it. And even when I lay down, I still see it. Yes, there is a pregnancy. Everything is fine. This happened on May 30th. On May 30th, confirmation of early pregnancy.
What?
At 6:30 in the evening, that's the last train, unique.
The last train?
And these are things that can't be explained, right? If you explain it to a doctor, he'll say, oh, well, during menstruation or in the absence of menstruation, there could be ovulation, it could be this or that. Maybe someone missed something. How did those cysts clear up? The ones that covered the entire ovaries in cysts? It's not possible, only after 2 years maybe, for things to normalize. There isn't. 21. And this pregnancy appeared, and really the pregnancy is one of the earliest confirmed. I mean, the woman told me we can't hear a heartbeat, nor can we detect any cardiac activity. This usually happens around the 6th or 7th week. Now it's the 4th week and 5th or 6th day, nothing like that. It's super early.
These are the miracles of ourselves that we give to ourselves. Thank you so much for sharing this story. It really filled my heart. More and more stories like this are coming to light, and I'm convinced that they have a great impact on people's hearts and minds. As we come to the end of our conversation today, we always have a tradition where I ask a few questions at the end of each show. The idea is to answer in one sentence. All right, let me know when you're ready.
Well, I'm ready.
Atka, Kalina, what are children?
The future without which we won't exist.
And where do we come from?
From where we've always been.
And where are we going?
To the same place.
And what is the meaning of life?
To choose, to give it meaning.
And what is love?
Everything.
And what does it mean to be here now?
Not letting it be either in the past or in the future.
And who are we really?
An endless love that we sometimes lose and hide.
Kalina, my respect and thank you for taking part. It was a great pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for agreeing to participate.
Thank you very much too.